interrupt me, and then we'll go back and forth. And
okay?
It'll be fun.
For sure.
Ooh,
I cherish every time I've done this with my
Bubba.
kids. I mean,
Hi.
Hi, Bennett.
I'm just gonna clap.
it should be done once a week. There you go.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
Say action.
Action. Okay, Bennett, can you tell me about Hurricane Laura?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well.
Hey,
Oh, look, here's our big microphone right here.
you could talk right here. And tell me about Hurricane Laura.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he's.
Oh, no. You got to sit over here. Yeah. Okay. There you
That
go.
microphone is so sensitive; it's able to pick up
It
what
can
you
it can
say.
hear you from there. So tell me about Hurricane Laura.
Okay, my love.
What did Hurricane Laura do? Did it hurt our home?
Yes.
The Category 4 hurricane with 150-mile-an-hour winds tearing apart buildings.
Hurricane Laura could bring unprecedented destruction to parts of the Gulf Coast.
One of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit the U.S.
This is the strongest storm we've ever, in our recorded history in our country, have ever seen in the Northwest Gulf.
The Category 4 hurricane with 150-mile-an-hour winds tearing apart buildings in Lake Charles, Louisiana, destroying entire neighborhoods as well.
What about our city? Did it hurt our city?
Yes.
What did it do to it?
It's to mine. It's to mine. It's to my city.
Yeah. And is it pretty bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it make you sad, buddy?
Yes.
Yeah. But can we fix it?
Yes.
How are we gonna fix it?
Fix mine.
Yeah. We have to rebuild it?
Yes.
Are you gonna rebuild it too?
Yes.
Imagine a disaster in the middle of a pandemic that caused a financial crisis, plus a chemical spill, and then add another hurricane followed by a flood. As our mayor said,
even if that was your premise, you might have a movie producer that would say, oh, that's a little too much.
but for the people of Southwest Louisiana, this is our reality.
News cycles move at a lightning pace. Before it's even over, the story's been left behind.
So once you're out of the news cycle, you're no longer news anymore. But we still have people who are living in houses with no electricity, no water, no gas.
The harsh truth is, American towns were decimated with barely a whisper.
How do you raise awareness after a story's already died? And how do you raise support for disaster relief when millions all over the country are financially hurting?
That's what me and Chappie have been working on. But before we tell you what we've come up with, we want to tell you how we came up with what we're calling Do Good.
Hey, wait, ready? You ready? You want to go down there? 3 Alpha. All right, you're coming and you're coming.
My name is Chappie, and in 2010 I was an Army chaplain serving in Afghanistan. I filmed during a deployment and wound up putting together a documentary called No Greater Love, which is about the lessons I learned from the soldiers I served with. I left the military after serving for 6 years to continue directing films. During a veteran event, that's where I met my friend Hank.
My name's Hank, and I'm a former medic. I served in Iraq. And when I got out of the military, I worked as a football coach for a few years, and then I started a rock band.
After we got out of the military, we both struggled with depression and PTSD.
We decided to do a morning call, just to check in on each other and help each other out. From that call, we moved forward, talking about how could we work together and use the different skill sets that we had to do something good.
We're doing a video.
Both of us feel like we were at our best whenever we were helping other people. We felt like that was something that was missing in our lives.
We're artists, so we also wanted to figure out how we could incorporate that mission into our projects. So I brought my wife and kids down to visit Hank in Texas and hammer out what would this project look like. Over several cups of coffee, we decided that we wanted to do a YouTube series on people making a difference. My wife suggested that we just call it Do Good. We plan to start it the following spring. That's when the news reports came in that Hurricane Laura was headed to Lake Charles. We ended our trip early and headed home to board up the house and get ready.
It's a little calm before the storm. It's eerily quiet.
My wife and kids went to Florida and I evacuated close by so I could re-enter the city right after the storm. The hurricane not only did a massive amounts of damage to my first home after leaving the military, but it also destroyed my office.
It got hit pretty hard. There's a tree on top of the roof, window knocked out, branch through the car window. Devastation is just incredible.
This is a hard hit when you're trying to transition back to civilian life. But I was lucky compared to thousands of others.
We have a relationship with the working poor in our community. They stop by and there's a tree in their house. So now they're homeless. They're asking for tents. They want somebody to come take a tree off their house, and they don't have the funding to do that.
To understand how bad the damage from Hurricane Laura truly was, I reached out to my old friend John Hodell, who I met while directing an off-road racing documentary. He texted me right before Hurricane Laura to let me know how my house was going to fare. And I asked him, how do you know the details about my house? And he told me that he works for this company called CoreLogic, which are experts at this type of analysis.
Most people have no idea the amount of damage that happened from these storms. The rest of the country can't help if they don't fully understand what happened here. So we checked in with CoreLogic to see if they could give us some insight. They connected us with their lead scientist, Dr. Howard Botts.
Hi, I'm Howard Botts, Chief Scientist at CoreLogic. In total, we estimate that the hurricane caused $8 to $12 billion in insured losses. That doesn't account for the uninsured. And in Lake Charles in particular, that was around $7 to $11 billion in insured wind losses.
What about financial impact on families?
The biggest impact is on home displacement, individuals that their homes are no longer able to be occupied. Certainly for those that were in the storm surge area, they may have been reduced to slabs, or in many cases, the mobile homes would have been washed away. What we're seeing really is a huge displacement of individuals living in motel rooms or elsewhere. And then we layer on Hurricane Delta coming shortly thereafter, double down really on the amount of damage and personal loss.
It's really hard to conceptualize $12 billion of potential damage.
One of the things I worry about is really the impact on a culture. If you think about the unique Cajun culture occupying some of the most marginal areas in the country, as we see increasing levels of sea level rise, certainly much of southern Louisiana is losing elevation. That's going to be a major disaster if we can't figure out how to save a cultural region.
Louisiana and the nation were struggling from the pandemic. Hurricane Laura truly devastated an already hurting community.
Louisiana hadn't seen a hurricane like this in 150 years. Hurricane Laura caused 77 deaths. Tens of thousands were left without homes. 200,000 without running water for weeks. Over 1 million without electricity. In total, over $12 billion in damages. And the most tragic part, people were committing suicide at an alarming rate in the aftermath of the devastation.
Just in 2.5 weeks, there have been 10 suicides that I know of.
And with the rest of the country, the number of people struggling with depression and suicide is also rising. Despair is a quiet epidemic that is taking more lives than any disaster that we've faced. And it is something that we've both dealt with as veterans coming home from war.
After witnessing the devastation, we understood what we really wanted this series to be about. Do Good is about hope, how to find it, and how to highlight people who are fighting for it in some of the hardest situations.
I wake up so depressed, and then I gain hope throughout the day, just based on seeing everybody come together.
Hope is something we all need right now.
Hope is everything. It's okay, am I gonna stop when I feel like stopping, or am I gonna keep on going?
It's something we both had to fight for after coming home from war. How do you find it? And how do you push forward after you've lost everything and you're at your lowest point? That is what this series is about.
When I talked to Chappie, we agreed that we needed to start the series now. I drove in and we started to look for people doing good.
Over the course of 6 weeks, we filmed some of the most selfless people we'd ever met. Some locals lost their homes, yet still volunteered every day.
I said, well, man, are you going to start on your house? And he said, well, this is my neighbor's home. They're elderly. They're out of town. I don't want them to come home and see their house this way. I'm going to take care of their house first, and then I'm going to get to mine. And again, you just take that one beautiful, solid example of humanity and multiply that by 20 or 30,000, and that's what we're seeing every day in Lake Charles right now.
Thousands of volunteers from outside the city also poured in, giving countless hours to help strangers that they had never even met.
One of the things we struggled with when we got home was the divisiveness in this country. People were fighting with each other over politics and religion. And when we were in the Army, we saw people from all different walks of life. They're working together and playing together and willing to die for each other. And when we got back home, that unity was just gone. That is, until recently.
You know, there's so much division in this country at this moment on a lot of fronts. And this is something that we can come together.
After the hurricane, the spirit of America reemerged in Louisiana. Americans united and able to put aside their differences to help one another.
I think that people come here because they want to be part of something great. I think that people want to feel like they're making a difference, not just in other people's lives, but then it so turns back and makes a difference in our lives.
So it's not about me, it's not about the next person, it's about everybody and what we did together to come together.
What we have learned in coming home from war and dealing with depression is how to find hope. You have to fight for it. So Do Good is not a series about a disaster, but about the people who made incredible sacrifices to help others find hope. And so we followed organizations like the Cajun Navy, United Way, the Southwest Louisiana Community Foundation, Aerial Recovery, the Southwest Louisiana Community Health Center, Care Help, and Compassion Kind.
This is the America that we've been longing to see. Our goal is to focus on one group per episode and share with you the inspiring sacrifices that they made and the impact that they had.
So the situation is the Cajun Navy is trying to get to a house right now that's waterlocked, and it's an elderly couple that they won't be able to tread the water.
I have the back over there, not
For the back.
Do you have that, Cody? Got it?
Yeah.
Good? All right, young man, we got you to this point.
These people saved lives, and they made an incredible difference for everyone in this community.
But every single one of these organizations has been depleted and exhausted during this tough year. Most have been impacted by the pandemic in a time when the country needs them the most. The coverage is disappearing, but the need is still there. This is not a momentary emergency, but an ongoing crisis. And this conversation is about all American communities and how we should respond when hit with a disaster. It's Louisiana's community today, but another community tomorrow. So how do we want to respond going forward? How do you help when you don't have much to give? And the plan that we came up with is kind of simple. It's just to simply partner with you. We will tell the stories of people doing good. Then we'll donate the proceeds from the monetization of views, that's the money that the videos make, to those charities.
You watch, we give. This way, just by watching and sharing, you're making a difference.
To join the Do Good Army, all you have to do is like, share, and subscribe.
Because do good starts now.
Yeah. We have to rebuild it?
Yes.
Are you going to rebuild it too?
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to join the Do Good Army, all you have to do is like, share, and subscribe. The views from this episode are being donated to the Cajun Navy Foundation, which we'll cover more in our next episode. And our primary nonprofit sponsor for this series is the United Way of Southwest Louisiana, who is directing all of our nonprofit funds to the designated charities. If you'd like to find out more, check out the links below or join us on Facebook. And until next time, keep doing good.